Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, episode number 271. Do what you love, because when you're 6 feet under, you're going to realize the race that you were running was only against yourself. Mongo Wilder.
Broadcasting from the back alley in Hollywood, it's the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive as an indie filmmaker in the jungles of the film biz. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Welcome, my Indie Film Hustlers, to another episode of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. I am your humble host, Alex Ferrari. Today's show is sponsored by Blackbox. Blackbox is a new platform and community that is all about financial freedom for filmmakers like you. If you join Blackbox, you will be transformed from being a worker to being a maker of your own content. And you'll be making steady passive income from the global market. Blackbox currently allows you to upload your stock footage once, get it to many global agencies, and then allows you to share that passive income stream with your collaborators. Whether you want to submit old footage that's been sitting around in your hard drives or create brand new content, Blackbox is for you. It's really quite revolutionary. With Blackbox, filmmakers can concentrate on making great content while Blackbox takes care of all the business BS. Just visit www.blackbox.global to find out more. And today's show is also sponsored by Indie Film Hustle TV, the world's first Netflix for filmmakers. If you want more information about the service and want to sign up for early access, head over to ifhtv.com. Now, today on the show, we have writer-director Natalia Leite, and she is easily one of the bravest filmmakers I've ever run into. She's a documentary filmmaker as well as a narrative filmmaker and has had films premiere at South by Southwest and Tribeca and was even nominated for Best Picture at the South by Southwest Film Festival for her film MFA. She has worked with Vice on multiple projects, one being one of the most interesting things I've ever seen a filmmaker do. And this young filmmaker threw herself into this documentary in ways that I have not seen before, that she actually became not only the writer and the director of this, but the subject of the piece. And the film is called Life as a Truck Stop Stripper. And Natalia did this for Vice, and it's been downloaded and watched over 11 million times on YouTube. It is a heart-wrenching documentary, wonderfully done, and I advise everyone listening to definitely check that piece out, among all the things that she's done. But I will put links to all of that in the show notes at the end of the episode. So without any further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Natalia Leite. I'd like to welcome to the show Natalia Leite. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Alex. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. No, I was shown your work and introduced to your work recently, and I have to say I'm fairly impressed.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a wide range of things that I've been doing here.
So before we get into it, how did you actually get started in the business?
So I actually came from a visual arts background. I went to art school. I didn't have a proper film education. I thought I wanted to be making visual art, and then quickly realized that maybe wasn't the medium for me. And I started getting into film just out of my own curiosity and, eventually assisting other directors. One thing led to the next, started writing my own scripts and just kind of like DIY, being scrappy, doing it myself, and realized that I loved telling stories in this medium.
And what was so you basically, that was the genesis of you wanting to be a director, is you just kind of fell into it and you're like, I really like this.
Right. Yeah, I fell into it and discovered that I really liked it. Honestly, it wasn't really in my radar. I grew up in Brazil, and I don't know, it just wasn't like a career path that was like presented to me ever that I really thought this could be an option, Right. But I knew I wanted to do something creative, and I knew I wanted to tell stories. Mm-hmm. It was just like taking another form back then.
Sure.
And it all, like, one thing led to the next. Like I was assisting a lot of other directors and producers for a while, mm-hmm. and I started writing my own work. And the first thing that sort of started to put my work out there was Be Here Now, which Be Here Now-ish, which was a web show that I, starred in, directed, wrote, produced, did the sound sometimes, like just like
craft services. Got it.
Yeah, craft services, did everything with a handful of friends. And that, started kind of putting the wheels in motion in terms of me doing this as a career.
Which is fun because I actually saw a little bit of that show and it actually looks really good. Like it actually has great production value for being such a scrappy little show. So congratulations on that.
I'll credit that to Dalmar, who was our DP, Dalmar Weaver Madsen. She's shooting High Maintenance now on HBO, and she is just the queen of just like, let's figure it out and still make it look gorgeous. So yeah, she's really lucky to have her as a friend and DP on that.
You definitely need people like that on your crew as a director.
Yes.
Let's figure it out and let's still make it look gorgeous. That's always
yeah. It's like we're like pulling in, like whatever we could find, just like bringing in lamps and just attaching things, like just trying to be creative of how we're going to get a good image and not make it look super low quality. So she's really creative in that way.
So let me ask you, how did you get that first project, that series up off the ground? I mean, obviously you needed some money. Where did you find money? How did you put this whole thing together? How did you put that show together?
Yeah. So the show, it really started off as, okay, let's do this on weekends with friends. Like I just want to get work out there in the world. Right. And then, so everyone was working for free, but then obviously like there came points when, okay, we really do need money. We can't just like keep this going for nothing. And we ended up doing a Kickstarter. We raised $20,000 on that Kickstarter.
Nice.
Which was like a lot of work. It's like not a lot of money at all for making a series, that ended up being like an hour and a bit long. But we really stretched it out and made those 20K on Kickstarter and through that met like other investors. It was actually a pretty successful campaign for us because we just met a lot of people that then ended up financing other projects.
And where is it being shown now?
So Be Here Now-ish is still on. We ended up selling the first season to a company called Aura. So they have it on their site. And then the second season, we had it with full screen, which full screen no longer exists. So now it's just up on our Vimeo, and we're trying to figure out if we can just like throw it up on YouTube. Because for us at this point, it's just about, letting people watch it. I mean, it's older. It's old now. I consider it for
yes, ancient, like 2-3 years old. It's like 3 years old. My God,
that's happened since then.
It's like the 80s.
Yeah, but I want people to still watch it. Right. I've aged a bit since I was doing that.
Yes. Oh, yes. You look haggard lately. I'm sorry.
Yes. It's my youth, so you can go back.
Your youth is fading away in front of you. Yes, those 3 years really killed it. Now, what is?
But yeah,
so let me ask you. So, what is your process when you're creating or selecting a project?
My process. So I need to gravitate towards things that I feel a personal connection to, that I feel really passionate about. Because, as you know, it just you're going to work on this thing for so long. Sometimes you don't even know how long, and you got to just like love it. And I feel like for me, I need to feel, it's an instinctual thing. Like I need to feel like there's like a chord from my heart to whatever the script or concept is that's like pulling me towards it. And there's been a lot of, now I'm reading other people's scripts, deciding like what to do next, writing my own stuff as well. But for me, it's always just like, I have to just check in intuitively to, is there a really strong pull? Like, do I feel called to absolutely have to do this? Otherwise I might love a story and be like, oh, this is great, but I'm not feeling so passionate about it. It's probably not for me. Like I shouldn't be the one to do it, and I think it's really good to discern that.
Well, tell me a little bit about your work with Vice and how that came about, especially that amazing documentary, Every Woman, Life as a Truck Stop Stripper, which is, when I saw that, I was like, I have to have her on the show. I need to hear all about this.
Yeah. So I had been writing on my own a script for my first feature, which is called Bear.
Mm-hmm.
And a big part of the script took place in a strip club. But it's sort of like a strip club in a small town. And I was looking for something that was like, just off the highway, ideally, right? Like I didn't want like a big nightclubby strip club in a city.
Yeah, in the city, right.
Right. And I had friends at the time. I didn't know where I was going to shoot, but I had friends who were living in Albuquerque, and I went there on like a month, hiatus while I was writing the script to go live in Albuquerque, and ended up like touring all the strip clubs in the area. Mm-hmm. As I was like doing research, and ended up finding out about this club that is about 45 minutes away from Albuquerque, in the middle of nowhere. Like you're driving on Highway 40, nothing. You pass a Walmart, then there's nothing. and then there's like the signs that are just like topless. And then there is like Club 203. And it just catered to truckers. So the truckers passing by, they can tune into a CB radio and they'll pick up the signal, and it'll be someone at the club being like, tonight on stage is Candy, and whatever they say. And they'll like turn off into the side of the road. And I found out about this place. I went there alone for the first time, and I was just like, what is this?
It sounds insane.
Yeah, it was like straight out of a David Lynch movie.
Right. I was expecting people to start talking backwards, and there'll be a little person just walking by for no apparent reason.
Exactly. I was like, wow, this is really fascinating. And it was just, Ryan, who's the guy who owns it, it was like very much a no rules type of place. And that there was like, in terms of the dancing, like you could do whatever you want. They had this rocking horse that they would pull on stage sometimes. And there was like, just like a mom and daughter dance. Like there was like weird stuff. Yeah, there was like disturbing stuff going on too. That's like, I don't know about this.
That's just, okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff that didn't end up in the piece. But anyway, so I was like, wow, this place, aside from I wanted to put it in my feature film as a location, it deserves a piece on its own, right? So I pitched to Vice. I went there, I had gone there alone, filmed on my own a little bit to show a sample of like what this really is. Mm-hmm. And then went to Vice with my friend Alexandra, who I was working with at the time, to pitch as like a standalone piece. And Vice, this was like Eddie Moretti, who was the creative there. He was like, we get pitched like stripper concepts all the time. Like, we're not interested. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, I want to go and work there. And he's like, oh, okay. Like that sounds crazy. So
it sounds absolutely
ridiculous. He gave us some money.
Right.
Yeah. And we went and worked and lived there for about 10 days.
All right. So before we continue that story, how did you get to Vice? Because I know a lot of filmmakers would love to have that conversation with somebody at Vice. How do you approach a company like that?
Yeah. So, okay. I went to a panel where Eddie Moretti was speaking. It was a Tribeca Film Festival organized panel. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the panel, I cornered him.
I was about to say, you accosted him. Got it.
I did. So did like 30 other people, right?
Right. As you do at panels.
As you do at panels. And I was like, I have something that you're going to be really interested in seeing. And he's like, yeah, okay, great. Reach out, and just gave me his assistant's email, and I reached out and I sent him a link to a piece that I had shot in Cuba. This was like Before Every Woman. That was very like, I had edited it like really fast, very like Vice style. And I just sent him the link and I didn't say much else. And he called me like right away. It was like, come in tomorrow. It's like,
that's
very,
awesome.
Like, yeah. And it's just sometimes that stuff works, but you gotta be like smart about how you're approaching it. Like these people don't have time. Right. So it's like, hey, like what's going to grab their attention and what do I have that they want? Right. And that was it. Like, I just met him at a panel. There was no, from there, like it opened up the scope, and then we did Every Woman. And then he called me back to do, direct other things. But that stuff is possible. Like just cold calling sometimes works.
It does. And I'm quite jealous because I'm actually Cuban and I've never been to Cuba yet. So when I saw that piece that you did, I was like, oh, that would have been amazing.
Yeah, Cuba's a really special place. I felt really lucky to be there. And at that time, especially, and film it.
So, all right. So now you're back at Club, was it Club 202?
203, because that's just the highway exit.
Right. So you're at Club 203 and you're there for 10 days.
I'm there for 10 days, and that was me, Alexandra, who came and was working with me at the time, and Vice sent us with one producer. This was prior to Viceland, so it was a little bit like still, no rules. Like, I mean, we were putting ourselves in dangerous situations. Like, I don't know that would fly today. Yeah.
You think? Like, I saw it. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, really dangerous. And I don't know that I would do it today, because now I know a little more.
Well, obviously you're much older, obviously.
I'm so much older. I have a lot of gray hair. Good thing this interview isn't a video interview, because you do not want to see what I look like.
Exactly. No, I mean, when I saw it, I was like, I can't believe that these girls did this. Like, this is so, and the guys you met were,
I know.
I mean,
it was intense. Yeah. I think what I realized too, but the whole idea about it was I wanted to go in there to try to debunk what are the stereotypes of a stripper, and like why women decide to do this, and the stereotypes of the truckers that go into these clubs. Right. And I really feel like it sort of opened my mind to what's possible, or what kind of, what the our like own limitations are of who those people are. And there was like one woman who we interviewed, Daisy, who was talking about how she feels like it's her calling. It's she loves doing the work because she feels like she's a therapist to these men. And that's sort of like, we never stopped to think about that. Maybe like that's a version of it. And also some of the guys all across the board, but people just wanted someone to talk to and a connection. And I think it was like a less about being naked and more about them feeling like someone was caring for them and wanting to listen to their stories, Of course, there's also then like just the creepy guy who tries to like grab you. And
there's the extremes. There's the extremes of both ends.
Right, exactly. But it's not all bad, and we definitely saw that. And some of the stories from the men were really intense and just hard to listen to.
Well, let me ask you a question. When you were in that moment, psychologically, how was it for you? Because I'm watching this and I'm just thinking to myself, this is your young lady who's put herself in this situation with her friend for God knows what reason. And I'm thinking, what's the psychology? What's going on? Because this is not a one night thing. You were there for 10 days.
Right.
So this was a day in, day out. It's not like, I'm going to try this for one night and then I can go back home. You came back and again and again. And like, how did that wear on you? Not only as the subject of it, but also as, you were directing that as well, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how did you do that?
I don't know. I think sometimes I look back and I think about my best work is stuff that I'm terrified to do or terrified to talk about. And it's almost like I just keep the ball rolling. And then, and then eventually it hits a moment when there's no turning back. Right. And you're like, this is happening. Like, this is now out in the world. And I feel like this project was exactly that. Like, I was terrified to be there. I was also having fun with it, but it was just like really intense, emotionally draining and physically draining. And I was terrified of like putting this out in the world, So
because you're exposing yourself, and not in that way, but you're exposing you're basically your soft underbelly to the entire world.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just a lot of exposure, but eventually you just hit a deadline and you're like, you just press send and that's it. And then it's out. It's like has a mind of its own and it's going to be whatever it needs to be. But I think it was just, like every day was a bit of a challenge, but you just kind of keep going because there's no other way around it, just push yourself to keep going.
Now you are, from what I see in your work, you are extremely raw and vulnerable. Is that something that comes naturally to you, or do you have to work at it to be able to kind of expose yourself as an artist?
Yeah, no, I think it comes naturally to me. I think I'm just naturally, I can tap into that sensitivity and being very empathetic. And, I do end up just feeling things intensely. And then sometimes I wonder if that's a hindrance, but more so now I feel like that's an advantage, that I'm able to, when I'm connecting with actors, just like feel what they're feeling deeply and just look at performance and scenes and just be really connected on an emotional level. I think it's actually really important for my work.
And you agree that that's probably some of your best work, is the more scary it is, the more extreme it might be, more vulnerable it might be, is where you find that your work really shines.
Yeah, I do. And because that's what I want to be, pushing the conversation forward. And I want to be just doing stuff that is making us think about things differently, making us feel more connected. And that sometimes goes and deal with things that we're not talking about. So like, for instance, even in Be Here Nowish, I wanted to do a storyline about a guy who was HIV positive, and how do you deal with that in the dating world, right? So like it's just a little piece of it in the series, but it's like, why are we not talking about this, right? Like I have a cousin who's HIV positive, and these stories are interesting to me, and there's just not enough of these conversations out there. So, but it's always scary because you're like, oh, this is kind of going into dangerous territory that, is it going to offend someone? Like, right? Like you just don't know. And, I always try to push myself to have those conversations, or at least open it up.
I find that, by doing the kind of work that I do, and also just being a filmmaker myself, that it's extremely difficult to be raw and vulnerable with your work. And I find that so many filmmakers hide behind falsehoods or create these walls that you can smell on their work. You can just smell it, like, oh, they didn't go all the way. Oh, they pulled back at the last moment. And it's only the ones that go all the way that you go, oh, there it is. And you see that in performances, you see that in directors, you see that in writers. So that's why I find your work so interesting, because you are still early on in your career. I know you're ancient, but you're still early on in your career. And I'm really curious to see the kind of work that you'll do, in 10 years. Because you only, by the way, being someone who's older than you only get braver, I feel, as you get older, because you start giving less of a shit.
Yeah. It's good to remember that. Thank you. I always I always feel like I have to push myself, and it's always scary, but I do feel like it's sometimes like you're just standing on the edge of the cliff and you're like, oh my God, am I going to do it? Am I going to do it? And you just have to jump into the waterfall or whatever that's right. But you just have to do it.
But that's why we're here. That's why we're here. Why are you going to play it safe? That's boring. I mean, I'm not going to go and be a stripper for 10 days at a truck stop in Albuquerque, because that's just not my path. And really, I would get no tips. But nobody wants to see that. No, someone would be nobody wants to see that documentary, I promise you. So what was it like with your first feature film, Bear, which was based, not based on, but kind of in the world of Every Woman, when it got accepted to Tribeca? I mean, what was that experience like? Anytime I have a filmmaker who gets into like Tribeca or Sundance or Cannes or something like that, I always want to hear the story of when they find out.
I mean, so thrilled. You just don't know, you go into it all just hoping for the best. And it was the best. It was really the best case scenario for me. It was like, I wanted so badly to premiere there, and you're just waiting and waiting. And I was so thrilled, and I was so impressed because the festival, they do such an amazing job. They take such good care of their filmmakers. We didn't know what to expect, but they gave us the red carpet, they gave us a party. It felt incredible. It was really, it was really phenomenal.
Now I see that you like putting yourself in your work. How do you handle being in front and behind the camera?
So it's a little challenging for me, which is honestly why I'm not putting myself in my work as much anymore, because I feel like it's hard for me to focus on two things at once, being totally focused on my character and then also directing the scene, So I still will throw myself a little scene just for fun because I like that. But,
yeah, you'll pop yourself in once in a while, sure. Yeah, you'll do your Hitchcock. Got it.
Yeah. But I just really am staying behind the camera right now because I want to craft the story. And I think just staying, more connected to the actors and the whole picture is really important. I really don't know how people are managed to do that. And like being the lead of a movie and also like directing it seems really hard to me.
Like the Clint Eastwoods of the world and the George Clooney's of the world. Like, I'm like, how do you do that?
Right. I mean, maybe like there's a point when you have a really solid support system that you can lean on them. I think for me, I'm still building out like who those people are. And when I find crew that I love, I'm just like, okay, like we're family now. You're coming with me everywhere, because it's so, being on set is so intense. So you just want to have that rapport you just want to assemble the family that you're going to carry around to every project.
Without question. I mean, my last film, the feature I just directed, I was in it, unfortunately. And it was difficult for the one scene or two scenes that I did. I was just like, oh, how does people do this?
No, it's really hard because you can't be in the moment and also be thinking big picture. At least I can't.
Right. Or unless you have that trust behind the camera that you're like, okay, my DP is going to cover me while I'm in this scene.
Right.
And then you just, after you yell cut, you're like, was it good? I have no idea.
Right. That's how I always felt. It's like, did I do anything good?
Is that really? And then all of a sudden you turn into the actor. You're like, you're looking for like approval. They're like, did I do good? Can I do it again?
But then no one wants to tell you no because you're
right. You're right. Yeah. But that's when you want that DP to go, dude, do it again. Just, but generally they're going, no, it's the light was off. And I'm like, I don't care about the light. I care about the performance.
Right.
Now, what do you enjoy to create more? Narrative, features, series, or documentaries?
I love narrative features. Okay. I love like having an arc, like a very clear trajectory, beginning, middle, and end that we're going through, and thinking about how like the character is transforming in that. I think series, like it can just go on forever, right? So there's like less of that clear hook. I like just even like as someone who like reads so many psychology books and thinks about how we transform as humans in the world. Like I love that beginning to end journey. But yeah, but I also think like sometimes on the like features is so hard, I would say, like because you have to have a clear end, right? Like you can't just be like, and then maybe in season 2 this happens, right? Like it has to stop. And I like crafting that. And the doc stuff for me is just fun because I like dealing with real people. So more so I've been trying to find ways to merge the two, right? Like put real people in my scripted work and then also get actors to be in non-scripted situations and sort of create a fusion of that.
Kind of like what Sean Baker does.
I love Sean Baker. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his work.
Sean's awesome. Yeah. I mean, the Florida Project, I have no idea why that was not. It didn't get more. It should have won more stuff. It was just amazing.
So great. He's lovely, and we've talked a few times. He's just been really supportive, awesome friend as well.
Now, tell me a little bit about your film MFA, which I haven't gotten a chance to see the movie, but I saw the trailer and I was again blown away by the subject matter and how you twisted something that normally doesn't get shown that way.
Yeah. So MFA, Leah McKendrick was the writer on it. She wrote it, and she is also an actress, and she had just seen my work and just sent me a cold email and was like, "Hi, I'm looking for a director. I'd love for you to consider this." And normally I'm like, oh, I don't, normally this stuff is not good, but when I get these emails, but I read her log line and she sent me the script and I was like, oh, wow, like this is really, really strong. And it was just surprising to just get an email like that. And so her and I started talking. She already had some financing in place. It was a small movie, so private investors piecing it together. And then we were shooting pretty quickly, but it worked out really well. It was like also one of those magical collaborations because we didn't know each other at all. I didn't know any of the people that she had already assembled, producer wise for the project. But we all got along really well and made something really special. And the story, I had like a deep personal connection to it, having gone to art school. I had been sexually assaulted when I was in art school. So it was almost like,
No.
oh, I have to make this project, right?
Right.
And Francesca Eastwood, who played the lead, I was just so blown away by her and her performance, and throwing herself into some pretty difficult scenes. Like talking about like things that make you terrified, right? Shooting that rape scene with Francesca was terrifying to me. And we did so many different cuts of it. And I was so worried that it was, because it's truly disturbing. Like a lot of people
I
have
can imagine. Of course.
brought that scene up as like it's too raw and real. And, but yeah, you got to just push yourself to go there.
And again, when you do that, it's when it starts to the work starts to shine more and more. If you would have held back there, the movie might not have had the same impact.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So can you tell the audience a little bit the log line, if you will, of the movie?
Yeah. So MFA is about an art student getting her master's of fine arts. And she has a crush on a boy in her class, which is played by Peter Vack. And he ends up raping her at a party. And she kind of from then on ends up seeking revenge and hunting down / killing the rapist on campus. So it's a rape revenge story, but in a very different tone than what we've seen before.
It's not as much I Spit on Your Grave.
Not at all, no.
No.
It's very raw and emotional. It's very much her point of view.
And
we're
real.
really into her, yeah.
And it is a kind of a, like you were saying, it is a little bit of a combination of the real and the fictional because of the way you shot it, at least from the trailer. It doesn't look like a Hollywood flashy film, but it also doesn't look like a documentary. It looks a little hybridish.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And I wanted it to be accessible to people, right? So I think about that too. Like, who's the audience for this? And I want it to be fast and fun too. And there's a version of it that could have just been a really depressing movie, and I didn't want that to be it. You know, I wanted you to be like cheering for her and excited when she gets her revenge. And there is a part, especially in the second half of the movie, where it really is more like playing off of the fun and excitement of her getting what she wants.
Oh, there's some humor in the trailer without question. So I could only imagine.
Sure. Yeah, there's definitely humor in it too. It's kind of like a bridge of different genres here.
Which is an interesting take on the subject matter, because you're right. It could have just gone straight dark real quick and stayed there. And it's hard to get an audience back from that. But
and I thought about that. I was like, nobody wants to watch that. You know, we need to also have some levity and fun with it. We need to be it needs to feel cathartic for people watching it.
Now, what are some of your greatest challenges about the process of making films?
Greatest challenges. I mean,
on set, creative, dealing with Hollyweird, dealing with money. Hollywood for sure. How does that work? Like I just can't see you in a room with an agent talking about this stuff. Like
I love that term, Hollyweird.
No, it's Hollywood. Yeah, I mean, I'm an East Coast guy, so I've been out here.
Yeah.
I've been out here for 10 years, so I have a completely different perspective on living out here. I wasn't raised out here, so I see it, and I've been around long enough to just go, yeah, this is Hollywood. But I just because so many times here in Los Angeles, people just don't get things that are outside the box. Where you live outside the box, you're not ever in the box in any of the work that I've seen. So I would just love to be a fly on the wall to see you have a conversation with a Hollywood agent or Hollywood producer or Hollywood studio. Like, so Natalia, what would you like to do next? Well, there's this stripper thing that I have going.
Yeah, I've been really into body horror lately. So I've been pitching a body horror idea.
What is it? Body horror?
Body horror. So like,
body horror. Okay, so
like Cronenberg. Yeah.
Oh,
it does a lot of that, right? Where it's like horror, but it's really like happening to you and to your body.
Oh, very, very. I think Disney's involved. I think Disney should get involved.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's been really interesting. And some people, I just keep trying to remind myself, because you can trying to remind myself to like stick by my integrity, stick by my morals, just do what I feel is right, and not get persuaded by the Hollywood part of it, which is a lot of people who just, maybe they're even presenting you with like a shiny opportunity and it looks really good and you want to go there, right? But you're like, wait, this isn't me. I can't do this. Or it's an opportunity that means you'd have to burn bridges on something else or upset other, so it's like, you just have to stay there. It is a crazy industry, and I just keep always like checking back in with myself and being like, does this make me feel good? Is this me? Like, do I really want to do this? Like, does this represent what kind of work I want to put out in the world? And I think that's so important. I mean, I'm lucky right now because my agents are actually really awesome. My managers as well, the people that I'm in touch with. But I've cycled through agencies, already. Even in the like short career that I've had, I've already like jumped around to 2 different agencies. So hopefully this is the one that I stay with like long term, because I really like these people, and it's all about the relationships, that you're building.
And do you have any, what's the greatest challenge of you like on set? Like what's the biggest thing you have to deal with on set that is just a big challenge for you?
Collaboration. I think collaboration and always trying to be super clear with your vision, like from day one, because other people might not get it. Making sure you're on the same page, but it's always hard when you want to push. Sometimes it's hard to explain things, right? Like in MFA, I like really want to push for a certain thing, but it's not 100% my project. And the more work you do, or the bigger the work gets, the more that's going to be the scenario, right? Where there's other producers and other people and weighing in on what the final outcome is. And it can't only be your way. So, and while that can be quite amazing to have that collaboration, it is also like a huge challenge sometimes, how to get people to do what you really ultimately want out of it.
Oh yeah, I agree with you 110% on that.
Hard, but you have to like make some sacrifices too. And I felt like in every project like that, it was like, all right, you get this, but then I have to keep this thing that
one thing
I'm trying to. Yeah.
Go. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's it. Just trying to find a compromise. Like, let's split up, like, so we're both happy here.
I find that, I've been, in my career, I've been challenged on set by crew people, by actors, by egos constantly. Yeah. How do you deal with it? Because I could only imagine it being even more difficult, being a female director. It's getting easier, and I can't say from my perspective, it seems like it's getting the doors are opening, cracking just a slight bit more nowadays than they were 20 years ago. But I can only imagine it being a little bit more difficult, especially if you have a rough crew or something like that. I'm just curious on what you do and how you deal with that.
It's like, yeah, I think it's a challenge. I think also I present, I'm small. I'm like 5'4". Right. I'm petite in size too. Right. I'm like Latin, small woman, and people like don't. It's and I'm also like I want to be really friendly with the crew. I want everyone to feel good that they're here on set. But that sometimes that gets like misinterpreted, and people think they can just
walk all over you.
Yeah. Right. And I've had to just be really firm sometimes, or really like call out the bullshit. Like, hey, do you want to be here? Do you actually want to do this? Because you don't have to. You can walk away. Like, I've literally said that to someone. Right.
So have I. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then you call them out on their bullshit. They'll be like, oh no, whoa, like they'll snap out of it. But I think it's always better to be super upfront and call it out. And even if that means having a super awkward conversation, than to pretend like it's, to like go around to other people or pretend like it's not happening, or just be giving someone shady look. Right.
Yeah. I feel sometimes it's like a prison yard. Like they're going to test you to see what they can get away with. And seasoned crew, if they don't respect the director, it's done. Any crew for that matter. But if a seasoned crew, like a seasoned DP, a seasoned, gaffer and production designer, if these guys or girls don't respect you or think that they can pull one over on you, it becomes a very difficult shoot.
Really difficult. I've also had situations where, I was working with like seasoned men, particularly, who were like a lot older than me and who just couldn't even look me in the eye. Like they would be addressing my producer, even though the question was to me. And it was so odd, right? And I just felt like, I was like, I have to say something because it's so obvious that this person's uncomfortable that I'm in this position with them.
Right.
But they can't even look at me in the face, you know?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you have to just, I think the best advice is you just got to call them out on their shit right away. Because if you let it fester, it can actually grow as a cancer around the rest of the set.
Right.
And then
exactly.
And all of a sudden you've got a mutiny on your hands. And if you're on a 10-day shoot, 20-day shoot, it's going to be hell. And it's going to be tough to get them back. So, you know
what the other thing that makes me think of is just like, I think sometimes too, because I've had so many people tell me like, this is the right way to do it, right? And I'm like, what is the right way to do anything?
There's no right way to do anything.
There's no right way to do it. And just because, like, yeah, I didn't go to film school. I don't know what the right way to do it, but this is the way that I want to do it because I think it works, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And having people let go of like their ideas of how it's supposed to go. You know, I'm not talking about like union rules or anything, just like forms of directing or of putting things together. It's just challenging.
Well, no, yeah, I had a conversation with a filmmaker the other day that, you know, he does all of his films improv. He does it Mark Duplass style, Joe Swanberg style, kind of work. And I gave the example. I was like, look, you know, if you give, you know, Jackson Pollock, Van Gogh, and Dali a canvas and paint, they're going to paint a picture differently.
Right.
The only common denominator is the canvas and the paint and the brush. And the only common denominator in filmmaking is an actor, a camera, and a lens. You know, and how you tell that story is completely up to you know, as long as you get that story in that camera somehow, it's all relative.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, you have to like push for what is your vision and your style. Otherwise everything ends up the same.
And one piece of advice I got from a director, an old school director, I've never done this. I haven't had the balls to do it, but I think it would be fantastic to do it just using it as a gag. The very first day on any set, nobody knows who you are. Bring one of your friends on and fire them. Just bring, they're just there. They're not supposed to be there. Just bring one of your friends, tell them that they're like, you know, a part of a department and they do something wrong and literally fire them as loudly as you can in front of everybody and let them take off. And that will set the tone for the rest of the shoot.
Right. That would totally set the tone. That would terrify people.
You know, but I'm not sure if that's the vibe you want on set, but I've always wanted to do something. I've never had the balls to do it, but I think it would be hilarious to do.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. That would be so funny. I mean, that's not my style.
Right.
I always want people to just get along and, and behave.
Exactly. Like, you know, Ron Howard's not doing that, you know,
right.
But James Cameron probably would.
Maybe, yeah, probably.
It all depends on the style of directing that you do. So tell me a little bit about your commercial work. I see that you've gotten into that world a bit.
Yeah, so on the commercial side, I've been working with a production company called Humble, and I signed with them earlier this year, and it's been amazing. Really good team there, and we've crafted. You know, they've sent me like already to different parts of the world for different shoots. So I did a doc style shoot in India for Vans. We did a thing for North Face here, and I actually just got back from Saudi Arabia to do another commercial out there, which was pretty wild. So it's been a really rewarding and fun part of my career to be able to travel, deal with real people, and have obviously like the money support behind it as well.
Yes.
When you're writing your scripts, it can be very lonely and the bank account can be very low.
Yes, I agree. I do commercials and series and stuff every once in a while between my features as well. So I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's been wonderful working with them.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions I ask all of my guests. What advice would you give a filmmaker wanting to break into the business today?
I would say you have to have a lot of grit and you have to really stick by what is it that you're putting out into the world. I don't think it's enough to just, you know, here's like an entertaining story. Like we live in a world where there's like a lot of change happening constantly. And I'm all about like, what are you saying with this? Why does this deserve to be here in the world for people to watch? Right. And just like, don't give up. There's so many people that give up along the way. You know, it's like, just be patient and persevere. And that's how you get it. You know, it's like not People want a lot of like immediate gratification. And it's like, you have to enjoy the journey too. I constantly keep reminding myself of that. Like, yeah, I want to do this big thing, but it could take years. I don't know. I just have to keep going, but I know I'm going to get there, you know?
I always love when actors or film directors or writers come to LA and they go, I have a 6-month plan.
Right. It's crazy to me. I would love for these things to happen in 6 months, but if they don't, then don't give up.
It's a 10-year plan minimum.
Yeah. So you have to have the 5-year plan. I have my 5-year plan. Like every, and I reevaluate it every year. I'm like, okay, here's where I want to be 5 years. Like, what are the steps to getting there? Like, here's this crazy big budget project that I've been wanting to do already for a few years. And I feel so strongly about it. I'm not going to give up on it. I'm just going to keep finding ways to get there, you know? Having that like long-term vision is really important.
Now, can you tell me the book that had the biggest impact on your life or career?
Well, okay. I mean, this is a hard question. Just one book, but
whichever one comes to your mind.
You know, I think Rebecca Solnit comes to my mind right now because I've read all of her books and I love her writing and I feel so connected to her voice and how she thinks about the world. And it just always like, I've reread her books and it just always like opens up possibilities for me.
Awesome. Now, what is the lesson that took you the longest to learn, whether in the film industry or in life?
Confidence. I'm still learning it.
that we need to have some.
That the lesson being just like, you got to believe in yourself, you know.
There it is. Yeah.
The lesson of believing in yourself. It's just like so easy to forget that your voice is important.
Now, what are three of your favorite films of all time?
3 favorite films. Okay, let me think for a second. I'm going to say I love The Piano.
That's a great movie. I love that movie.
It's a great movie. I've watched that film a few times and I'm always just like, oh, it's so beautiful. And there's so much emotion behind it. And Holly Hunter's incredible. I love, what's another movies? This is hard. Wait, let me come back to it.
it could just be like, it's not going to be on your gravestone. So just 3 of your favorite films.
Yeah, don't put it on my gravestone.
No, it's whatever 3 movies come to your mind today.
Okay. I loved Fish Tank. That's been like a film that I reference a lot. That was so brilliant. Love Andre Arnold. There's this filmmaker called Lucia Puenzo that did a film called XXY. Have you seen it?
Yes. I know that movie.
Yeah, I really like her work. I thought that film was just so subtle and emotional and just strong subject matter.
Very cool.
They're all the same vein right now. Maybe that's just how I'm feeling in the moment.
Listen, tomorrow I asked you this question.
Something else.
Exactly. It's again, it won't be on your gravestone, so don't worry. And where can people find you? Online.
Online. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter or on my website, which is just my name, natalialeite.com. And I love to stay in touch with people. I love to talk to people. I always write back. So unless you're sending me like a creepy comment. So
Natalia, thank you so much for sharing your journey and your process with us. And you are an inspiration to, I know, a lot of filmmakers who are going to be listening to this. So thank you again for taking out the time.
Thank you so much, Alex.
I want to thank Natalia for coming on and dropping those knowledge bombs and sharing her process on how she brings her creativity to life. If you want any links or trailers or just want to watch some of the amazing work that Natalia does, head over to our show notes at indiefilmhustle.com/271 and enjoy. Now, before I go, guys, I wanted to, again, thank you so much, guys, for all the support with IFH TV. As you kind of probably have noticed, I've been a little off on my schedule with the podcasting. It has been absolutely maddening, crazy, trying to launch a Netflix for filmmakers, a streaming service dedicated to you guys. It is not easy. I'm doing a lot of it on my own, and it's a very, very big undertaking, and it's been a lot of time in the work. So forgive me if my timing is a little off sometimes getting this work out to you, getting the podcast episodes out to you guys. But trust me, when you guys see IFH TV, I think you guys are gonna really enjoy it. So again, if you haven't seen the teaser trailer for it, just go to ifhtv.com, and then I will release the final URL to the main site in the coming weeks. November 1st is when we launch, but also there will be some early access to other filmmakers who sign up. So if you sign up there, you will get early access to IFH TV and get in there before anybody else does. And also on a side note, guys, I have been asked a ton by the tribe about like Indie Film Hustle hats and t-shirts and merch for Indie Film Hustle. And it's something I've never done, as you guys know, over the course of the last 3 years that we've been on. But a lot of pressure has been put on me by the tribe. So I've decided to launch some merch, some inspirational t-shirts, hats, accessories, things like that will help inspire you guys to kind of move forward and help you guys on your journey, on your path. So that is going to be coming out next Tuesday. I'm going to be launching IFH, the IFH merch store, and I will be sending out links, and there'll be special deals and all sorts of stuff coming out when we launch. So for all of you out there listening who really been dying for that Indie Film Hustle hat or a great t-shirt, I got some great designs I've been working on as well. And guys, I don't even know how I do all this. I tell you the truth, I really don't know how I do all of this, but I do. And I think I do it all because I do it all for you guys, man. I mean, I really am killing myself here, but I love doing it. And I want to just give you guys as much as humanly possible. So thank you guys again so much for your support. Keep an eye out next week on Tuesday for that announcement and those deals. And again, thank you for all your support, guys. I can't do this without you guys. Please continue to spread the word. If you haven't gone already, go to filmmakingpodcast.com, leave a review, give us some good ratings, helps us get the word out on the podcast. I want this information to get out to as many filmmakers, screenwriters, content creators as humanly possible. Spread the word. You guys are the best advertising I could ever do. So thank you again so much for all your support, guys. And I've got so many things coming up before this year is out to talk to you about. I still got those 2 big announcements coming up. One about the book that I'm writing, and I'll tell you all about that later on when I have a release date for it. And the third big thing that's going to be coming out about a week after IFH TV gets released. And this is going to be a huge opportunity for the tribe. And it's, I hope it, I just want to tell you, but I can't. It's going to be something really, really special and awesome for you guys. And it's going to help you guys get to where you want to be faster. And I'll give you I'll give you one hint. It's going to allow you to get access to the film industry in a way that you have not been able to get access to it before. You might not have to break down or knock down those doors as hard with this thing that I'm going to announce. It's a way for me to give back to you guys even more and help you guys follow your dreams. So that's it. I can't say anymore. I'm sorry. I'm like getting teary up. I'm tearing up already because I'm so excited about all the stuff I got going on for you guys. So thanks again for everything, guys. I'm going to stop talking now. As always, keep that hustle going. Keep that dream alive. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Indie Film Hustle podcast at indiefilmhustle.com. That's INDIEFILMHUSTLE.com.